helping you with Acorn and RISC OS computing.
Right. Good evening, everybody. I know that we've been a bit delayed by about a week, but I had some personal issues last week. And today's talk almost got derailed. So some kind person sent me an email today. Not too sure who, but it was basically a DMCA takedown for one of my repositories over some code. But never mind, these things happen. So obviously I've got a couple of emulators on the go at the moment. I've got the Kinetic Box, which you've probably seen quite a bit of floating around the forums. And there is the OMAP5, which is, I suppose, a modern sort of titanium-based A15 processor emulator as well, which is not quite finished yet. So we'll start off with that one, I think. Oh, where's the share button? It's moved. I wish they'd leave it alone. Right, I've sent the request.
Should be good to go.
Yeah, okay. All right, let me just, all right. Okay, so this is my Mac desktop, and I've got the TI on here. Just launch it up, the desktop. I'm not sure how this is going to perform in Zoom, to be honest. Can everybody see that full screen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so this is what you're looking at the moment, which is the titanium-based emulator. It's getting there. It's not quite finished yet, but as you can see, the graphics is fairly smooth. Everything that you'd expect from a titanium. It's got the full RAM support. Now, the only difference between this and the actual titanium is that the actual hardware itself is not capable of displaying a 3440 by 1440 widescreen display, which I've added a separate graphics driver for it, which is somewhere in here. So it uses a 64 megabyte frame buffer to extend the graphics, which is accelerated as well. It's got JPEG plotting and sprite plotting. And the one application that everybody wants to see running is the Iris web browser. So it does run the browser in this, but it is it's not very quick at the minute because I'm still working on the JIT support to make it quicker. So there's a lot of tweaks that I have to put in this. But all the other apps, it seems to run quite well. I think I've been doing this now for about 4 or 5 months. And it is getting better slowly. Here we go. Everyone's favorite website. So there you go. Web browser's pretty good. Don't know if it'll do Google. Probably not. Oh, it does. Yep, so that's the browser. And we've got other apps like Photodesk. All right, maybe not. Observation Pro. Pipe Dream. There are a few applications that don't run at the moment because it's missing certain elements of the instruction set, which is the stuff in the background that I've got to work on. This is very useful if you want to run your development tools for newer hardware. So you get the full DDE suite that runs in here as well, and you can run it headless. So you don't have to be sat there waiting for something to compile. It'll do it in the background. And the system is based on HostFS for local sharing. So there's two drives for that, and then you have your normal ADFS hard drive image as well, which is it's basically like a compressed image. So it doesn't use the full 8 terabytes on your disk. It only expands as you fill it. And then also you can see the full acceleration's working. You can load images and drag them around. And they just load without any issue. That's pretty much it for the titanium. Anyone want to ask me any questions on it before we move on to the next one? Anyone at all?
How do you go about transferring files to and fro from the host operating system?
Okay, so it will create a folder on your desktop if you're on the Mac called the shared folder.
Okay.
So you just drop your files in here and then they'll appear on the emulator.
Sweet. And did you have to modify Iris to get it to work, or is that's just the off-the-shelf?
For that one, it's pretty much off the shelf. It just runs because the A15 processor is a Texas Instrument, which all the data reference manuals are available off Texas Instruments website. So it's pretty easy to put together, which is why I picked that particular model, because all the TRMs are available for that machine. All the other features, like the Ethernet driver, is all custom because they have to connect to your host machine via para virtual sockets.
That sounds complicated.
It is. I mean, I tried using the RPC MU Ethernet driver, but it just wouldn't work on that platform at all. So okay. it was extremely difficult. So we had to create a separate one using the existing driver that comes with the titanium, but just changing it around a little bit so that it just talks to the host.
Okay.
So that one was this one's a work in progress. I'm hoping it'll be ready before the London show in October. There's just a few more niggles to iron out before it's ready, and that'll be available on Windows, Mac, and Linux as well for all different machine types.
Nice.
And they should all run at the same speed. The best one so far, considering my Mac is an ARM-based processor, it actually works really, really well on a Windows x86 processor. Obviously, your mileage may vary depending on what type of Intel processor you have on your desktop. If you're running something like a Pentium 2, then forget it. You may as well just go and buy a Pi at that point. But yeah, if you've got like a modern day Intel or ARM processor, then yeah, it's going to be pretty good. There is a follow-up to this one, which is the Kinetic Box, which has drawn a bit of controversy over the last few weeks due to some issues that I had with licensing. The GPL2 license in particular is quite a difficult one because it's copyleft. So you're free to do what you like with it as long as you keep the credits in and you honor everybody that's added code to it. So that was one of the things that I originally got wrong when I first put it out. And then I thought, well, I didn't really want to use the GPL license, so I'm going to move away from that and try and write a new one. And that became more difficult as well, especially when you're using AI, because AI has a large database of everything that's out there on the internet. And when you want to try and create something new, it tends to sort of reach out into other bits of the internet and say, well, we can see parts of this. We're going to try and copy that. It caused me some issues. So I had to slap it all under a GPL2 license, and it just makes it easier then to maintain if anybody wants to copy bits out of it and distribute it. There was no interest in making any money from it. Anything that I generally put out is for free anyway. I've never charged for any RISC OS product that I've put out, but we'll launch it anyway. This is the Kinetic Box, which is based on RPC EMU, but it's a nicer native version for the Mac, which is what I created it for, because the Mac was kind of left behind when it came to RPC EMU at the time. Now, just before I show you this one, there are going to be some stuff on this desktop that you've never seen before, and I'm just going to put out a little bit of a disclaimer. I can't actually tell you about it. You are going to have to tune in next month if you want to know more about what's on my desktop right now. And you're all looking at them thinking, what are they? The only thing I can tell you is they are widgets. It's a first for a RISC OS desktop, and it's pretty good going. But Andrew will tell you about those next month. So the Kinetic RiscPC is basically the same as RPC EMU. The only difference is that I've added an extendable graphics controller onto this, which I call the Kinetic Graphics. So this basically takes memory from the DRAM from the main CPU and allocates it as a dynamic area for VRAM. So basically all the plotting of the JPEGs and the sprites and the blitting and everything all gets cached into this space, which is why I'm able to have a nice big desktop that runs at 3440 by 1440. It's 16 million colors, as you can see there, and it's running at 100 hertz. So it's quite a nice, smooth desktop. Not on Zoom, though, I might add. The normal host FS is there. I am in the process of replacing the share FS. You may have noticed there's a K share icon up there. It's not finished yet. But with most emulators, there is a huge issue with share FS in the sense that trying to connect to another Acorn machine via a NAT or a relay is an absolute pain. So the structure of the share FS has been changed on this completely so that it connects. You can transfer large files, and it's pretty much robust. There's also a new version of Sprite Extend. The one that RUL have got at the moment I think was last updated in 2012. I've added support for progressive JPEGs, so you can now load and progressive JPEGs into RISC OS as well. Again, with this one, the graphics are pretty quick. Not your average RiscPC. Everything loads pretty quickly. All the apps do run. Now, Iris doesn't run on this because it is a RiscPC, but I have added some V7 extensions which will help users use the DDE suite a bit better for modern hardware if they want to compile any apps in it. So by doing that, the strong ARM processor never had the capabilities of having a coprocessor, but there was always space to add one in the manuals. So what I did is I added VFP and Neon and some of the V6 extension code from ARM's later processors into what would have been the coprocessor slot on the RiscPC, and it talks to basically like an emulator coprocessor that does all the other fun stuff. So there's lots and lots of stuff to do. There are different varieties of RPCMU. You may have seen that there is an extended version which is done by Andy Timmons. His is more, I think, for people that want to get really, really technical with an emulator. It's got all the, the debugging features and all that stuff in it. I just wanted to create something that was nice and easy for a user to use, the basic average user, making sure that everything was packaged in a native app, that people didn't have to download loads of different dependencies. Also making sure that the app was signed by a developer account, which I've had for about 10 years now. So that was nice and easy. There is another application sat in here called Viewer, which is another app that I'm working on, which is RISC OS's very own native PDF renderer. There's been various different types of PDF readers in the past, but I think this one is relatively quite quick. It may not be quick on this though, so I'm just going to swap my screen over. If I can get out of here. Let me stop sharing a second. Let me just have a look at the chat. Yeah, I'll get to the PDF library bit in a minute because let me just, where's my camera bit? I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. You may have to click it to go full screen. Does that actually work on here? I suppose it depends what view you've got it in. Is that facing the right way on everybody's screens?
Yes,
or is it
but
back?
it's lower resolution.
Yeah, just bear with me a second. Can we go? I'm going to break it. Is that better
Well,
or not?
it's not so much the resolution that you've chosen, it's more that it's looking out of focus, at least via Zoom. I don't know whether worse than the earlier shot that you were showing us.
Okay.
It
Right,
looks
let me
like
switch
it's
back.
being captured at 640 by 480, and whatever resolution you pick gets scaled to, say, 640, 480 or 102, 47, 68.
It's really bizarre because it's a video capture card that's actually quite expensive, and yet on Zoom it's horrible.
But now that's fine.
Okay, I need to come out of this because I've shared the wrong bit. Bear with me. Right, I should be able to move stuff now. Zoom is actually covering the so annoying. Zoom keeps interfering with the Mac. It's driving me insane. Whoever thought Zoom was a good idea on shooting? Let's wait for all the widgets to load up. Yeah, so to answer Mark's question about the PDF, the stuff that's underneath, most of it was written from scratch because there isn't really much out there in terms of PDF stuff that you can use on RiscOS apart from the one app that we already use. And sadly, Zoom is just slowing everything down. Because Andrew's actually seen this on Discord and it's not been this slow.
I can confirm it's usually quite nippy.
Yeah, it's just Zoom. Zoom's literally just messing it about, and I don't know why. Okay. Maybe that'll work now. Or not. Let's see this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Zoom's not letting me click anything. Use Mac screen, remote control, slide control. Blah, blah.
You want to stop sharing and then restart the share or something, or possibly
Yeah.
try again on your capture card, even if it's a bit low res. It, we can probably see.
Well, no, the
viewers
thing is, when I first shared the screen, it was
working
share
fine.
all windows. Yeah, it was working fine. It's just not.
That seems to be clicking.
Yeah, it's just.
So the RISC OS cursor seems to be sitting at the bottom of the screen a lot of the time. It's the Mac cursor you're moving around, I think.
Oh, I'm probably not sharing anymore now, am I?
No, we can see you.
Yeah, so since I've stopped sharing, it's fine. This is crazy. Why is this not working?
Typical tech.
I'm just wondering whether there's anything in the settings that I'm not doing, because share all windows from an application. Don't show the green border. Zoom my Zoom workspace application. It's just driving me insane. All right, let's give this one more go, because okay, I think it's working now. Maybe. All right, we'll just have to roll with it, I think, because there's not really much we can do about it. I'm really sorry, everyone. Technology is not on my side today. Okay, so I have loaded the PDF icon, which sits down there next to the resources. And I'm going to try my best to demo some PDFs. So let's have a look at, see what it does. Oh, there we go. Right, so that is basically what the application looks like. Those that are familiar with RISC OS 6 will probably remember this as a viewer that used to sit in resources. It's a very similar concept. It started off just being a PDF renderer, and then I thought, well, actually, why can't we get it to read other things like Photoshop files, draw files, JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, all of those kind of things. So now it's kind of turned into a multi-tool for RISC OS. So any file type within RISC OS, this will now open it. I would like to demo it properly, but this thing is being really unresponsive. I'm literally going to try something else. I wonder if I could load OBS and try and do it through there. Just to add more applications to the problem. Let's just see what OBS does. Feel free to ask me some questions though while I'm trying to sort this out.
There are a few questions on the chat.
I can't actually see them at the moment.
Somebody's asking about artworks. Does it work in your viewer?
Yes, they do. Artworks files, yes, they do. Yes. Yes. Artworks, TIFFs, JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, sprites, draw files, PDFs, Photoshop files. There is another one. What is the raw format? SVGs? Yeah, they also open in the viewer. Right, while I'm trying to figure that out, I'm going to show you the other app. This one might be a bit more. Oh, can we see this better? That might be better. Hang on a second. Can I put that in full screen mode? View. What that is. Okay. Right, we'll just have to go with this, I think. Can people see that screen okay? No, it's not very good, but...
I'm seeing Kinetic Box RISC OS 5.31, and it looks all sharp and clear with the viewer window open. Is that intentional?
Hang on a second. What are you seeing?
Now I can see you.
Bear with me. All right, can you see my desktop?
I can see your desktop.
Now can you see that?
Now I can see OBS.
Yeah, can you see the RISC OS desktop inside it?
I can indeed see RISC OS desktop inside OBS.
Okay, we got there eventually. Just see if I can make this a little bit more.
That looks all right.
Okay, it's cut off at the bottom slightly. Oh no, there we go. Hey, right. So viewer is at the bottom, and we'll work with a desktop that is actually a bit more responsive. On drive. Okay. Let's have a look at it's a TIFF file. There's the progressive test. Not very good, unfortunately. Trying to find. There we go. So Acorn RiscPC, technical reference manual. So it will render the PDF. So I don't know how many, there's 112 pages in there, and I think that came up pretty quickly. So it gives you contents. You click any part of the contents, it should load the page in pretty quick succession. You can scale it to make it bigger or smaller, and it should re-render the text. Not sure. There we go. Just for reference, this is running on an IMX6. Press the right button. Yep. Turn that one down. We've got this one. Another one. Tells you what it is. Hopefully it'll render pretty quickly. There we go. You might have to get it a bit bigger to see the text. Well, this was the one that I used, or this is the one that I was sent, which was an annotated PDF, to try and get all the rendering and stuff correct, because on some viewers, I think this particular one in Windows, was it Andrew? The text was missing in the middle?
Well, in Plink PDF, most of that page didn't render properly. The background didn't work. The text in the documents didn't appear, and it was a dog's breakfast. On Windows, it's weird. You can't highlight the text, or it's a difficult PDF file. Is that one?
Yeah. So
pages are all different sizes as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. So it's not the best one to kind of view. Just have a look. So there's the JPEGs do. Oh, not that one. That is a progressive JPEG. Now, before, if I'm right in saying, we could never load this in RiscOS with the Sprite Extend.
Yeah, that one blew up Ovation Pro if you dropped it into Ovation Pro.
Ah. Now I'm going to have to see if that works now, aren't I? If I've got Ovation Pro on here. How big is Ovation Pro?
Not especially. 8 meg, I think. If you've got reasonably fast internet, it should come down pretty quickly.
I can't remember if I fixed this or not. As you probably know, Andrew likes to give people really challenging tests to see if their apps work.
It's no fun if you don't have a difficult test document.
Let's copy that over. Plink Store has suffered a fatal error.
Oops.
Okay. That's your problem, not mine.
It's funny because I still can't get Plink Store to run correctly on Kinetic Box. It always hangs indefinitely trying to contact server.
What, on my one?
I don't know, but it's a MacBook and it's on Wi-Fi. I don't know whether that makes a difference.
Yeah, it can do. Wi-Fi is a bit of a problem when it comes to NAT-based networks. They do recommend. I personally would recommend, if you're using like an Ethernet cable, then use the bridging. Ethernet bridging is better because then you get complete access to all services then without there being any issues. ShareFS, LANMAN 98, they all just work under a bridging service. I've had huge issues with because what the NAT thing does is it kind of creates its own little network on top of the network that you've already got, and then it sends UDP sort of sockets out to try and get ShareFS working, and it just times out. It was just an absolute nightmare. But I'll have a look at the Plink Store thing again. I'm pretty sure that I did get that working.
I know
So
that
I just-
Pac-Man has no problems, but there must be something PlingStore does that Pac-Man doesn't. I suspect it might be something to do with secure sockets, because on PlingStore you can make payments and things like that, and Pac-Man you don't. So I wonder if it's something along those lines.
Yeah, it's definitely worth having a look at.
Yeah, that or it's some permission that the Mac's looking for that it's not getting. Sometimes it's misleading. Once when I saw the GIMP up on the Mac, it asked for permission to discover devices on local networks. So it doesn't need that. Denied it. Turns out that's what it needs to download it to load its plugins that are actually on the same machine. But why? What is that permission? I've got no idea. But without that permission, it couldn't download its plugins.
The thing is with the signed app for the Mac is that the idea behind it is that it is supposed to do everything all at once. So it'll come up with a box saying, do you want to give permission for it to use certain things? And you should only ever have to do it once. And it should set that all up. Unless you're running a version of it that's before it was signed. It works. Is that what you expected it to do, Andrew?
Well, on a normal RISC OS 5 machine, that would have caused Ovation Pro to reduce the window size to 0 size and come up with a crashing error.
Yeah.
So, that what you've seen there is what you would hope would happen, but not what does happen.
So this is the new Sprite Extend module, and that is already available to download, I think, on my GitHub. I'm sure it is. But if not, I'll put it up anyway, so anybody's free. You just drop it in as a soft load replacement until I guess we'll all pick it up and put it in their source tree. But we live in hope. But yeah, we've added progressive JPEG. So the whole render engine has been upgraded for Sprite Extend as well. So instead of using the old JPEG decoder, we're now on a turbo JPEG 3.4, I think it is. So it does make a massive difference, especially if you're using a lot of graphical stuff, which is quite nice. And look, it moves around as well quite nicely. Yeah, so that is the viewer. That is work in progress. It's not finished yet, but we are getting there. So hopefully another release before the London show or at the London show. So that is that one. I'm just going to go back to Kinetic Box if it'll let me. And I want to try the PlingStore in here because that's really blown my mind. I'm sure it did work. While that's loading, then I'll show you something else that I've done for the Mac and Windows, which is the RISC OS image suite. Looks like a normal viewer, but it does one really useful thing. And it can open sprite files on your Mac. So if you've got a Sprite 22 file that's got loads of icons in them, it will list all those icons down the side, and you can click on each one of them. And if you wanted to, you can blow them up, and we can edit them. So we have like a sprite editor for the Mac. My drawing skills on Paint is horrendous, so but this is just to basically show you that all the tools pretty much work as you'd want them to, like they would in Paint. And you can save that file and then transfer it to your host FS if you wanted to, and open it there as well. You can also create a new sprite file. You've got all the normal icon sizes there, or you've got custom size if you want to. 16, 256,000 millions of colors. You can add the transparency, give it a name, create. Don't say that one. And you've got a new sprite file. Now, if you wanted to be really fancy, you can have a new draw file if you want as well. So not only does it do sprites, it does draw. You add your text. There's all your tools up there at the top. You've also got all your RISC OS fonts. Your Homerton, Sassoon, Trinity, they're all on there as well. You can import PNGs and convert them to sprites. You can also import draw files into sprites. You can export sprites as PNGs. You can open a 22 sprite that's got loads of sprite icons, and you can export every single one of those into an individual PNG if you want to. You can also export your draw files into PDF. But there's going to be a hell of a lot more options in here. So there's going to be support for other formats like artworks, JPEG, all the formats that you could think of. So the whole idea is that anybody can have their own viewer editor kind of RISC OS sort of suite for their Mac and Windows. So yeah. And that again also should be ready for October. I'm just going to try this Pling store again. I may need to look at this because Kinetic Box doesn't like Zoom. And I don't know why. Just load. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it works. I'm assuming you mean it gets stuck trying to fetch updates. Is that what you mean?
Oh, it just says contact link. It never gets as far as trying to fetch updates. It just gets to trying to contact server and just sits there.
Okay, I'm wondering if you've got, I don't know what version you've got. Maybe you've got an older version.
It's the latest release, which I downloaded yesterday. 2.2.7, I think it is.
Okay, so yeah.
It's on the sign because it didn't get tested by Gatekeeper.
It's not signed.
It was one that is signed because Gatekeeper didn't ask.
Okay, so let me just have a look. Yeah, this is 2.2.7. I'll double check it. What Mac are you using? What version of the OS are you using? Do you know what version of Mac OS you're using? Whether it's Apple Silicon or an Intel one? No? Okay. Last part of Kinetic Box is RISC OS 6. Again, has same layout as the previous one, 3440 by 1440, or goes up to that level. And it also has VPod capabilities. So if anybody remembers the old VPod that you used to be able to put in your RiscPC, RISC OS 6 was the only operating system that could support it. This does actually have an emulated VPod built into this as well. The original VPod, I think, was 8 megabytes. This does 24. So you have 24 megabytes of accelerated graphics to go with this. And it's just as smooth as 531. So there is a select 6 option if people want to to do that as well, but obviously I can't supply the RISC OS itself or the ROM. You will have to provide your own, sadly. There will be 439 support. There'll be RISC OS 4 support, and it will go all the way down to 3.1 eventually. Why? I apologise, that's my phone going off. Okay, that's it for now. Any questions? Any? I'm sorry this has been a bit of a mess because Zoom hates me, clearly. No questions at all?
For the viewer,
Yes.
how is it? Is it an extensible program? How easy is it to add new formats to the viewer?
How easy?
Yeah, I mean, what formats are you doing at the moment?
So it will do all the usual stuff that RISC OS allow it to. So all the stuff that I could find, I've shoved into it.
Okay.
The only added one that I added was Photoshop, which I think only Photodesk does, if I'm right.
Yeah. That's just a small edition Photoshop.
Yeah, so this will do every version of Photoshop.
As you do.
Yeah, and it does SVGs, TIFFs, JPEGs, GIFs, PDFs. I think there's various different types of PDF as well, I'm not sure. The one that I had issue with was encrypted PDFs.
Okay.
Now, for some reason, the Acorn RISC OS, the RISC OS 5 user guide is classed as an encrypted PDF. I don't know why, but when I first put the viewer together, it wouldn't open it. It wouldn't open it at all, and I had to figure out how to get that to work. And we had some grayscale issues with the original style guide, which is now in color. But there's loads of different things that you'll be able to do. So the one thing I didn't mention, and I don't know whether the other PDF app does this, is that you can select all the text in a PDF just by highlighting it all. And you can save that into an edit file if you want to, or export it into Impression. Or so if somebody sends you a PDF file that you don't really want to type out, but you could just copy the text and put it into your favorite DTP app, and that will do that. Or you can export it as a sprite or a draw file. So I'm looking for ideas, really. If you want an all-time viewer that does everything, you need to kind of let me know what you'd like to see in it, because I'm open to ideas. And at the end of the day, it's about what you guys want, not what I want. I've made what I wanted it to do, and that's just to read PDFs, but it kind of spiraled. I thought, well, if...
Oh, sorry, go on.
Go on, carry on.
I was just going to ask, are the converters for like JPEGs and PNGs and things, are they all baked into the viewer, or are you using sort of conversion modules or something?
The conversion stuff is baked into the app. I think the only two, but actually I don't know, because my IMX6 doesn't have any conversion stuff on it. So it just works. So it's coming directly from there is a module that loads as you're loading the app. So that loads into RAM, and that does all the conversions, but it relies on Sprite Extend. Okay. Most of the PDF rendering is done through the draw module. Okay. So that all works through the draw module.
Martin, I don't know where you can see them, but there's one or two questions on the chat.
Yes, a lot of it is AI stuff, Mark, sadly. I know there's a few people that don't like AI, but AI has become quite useful with RISC OS just recently, and there's quite a lot that you can do with it now. The AI model that I use is, there's two actually I use. One's called Codex, which is pretty good, and the other one is by Anthropic, which is Claude. But it's not just a case of throwing something at an AI agent and expecting it to work. You have to kind of build up a really useful database of knowledge, because RISC OS is pretty unknown to a lot of AIs. There's people like Jerf, a couple of others that have put like AI agent skills together that you can now download from his repository on GitHub. And you basically import all that information into your AI that you're using, and it then has a really extensible knowledge of the operating system and how it works. And we've even got down to the finer details now, like designing templates and resource files, which you could never do before. So it's getting very, very clever. Yeah, I've never been one for coding. I can't code to save my life. The language that I used to use years ago was Pascal, which is pretty much dead now. And somebody I know who lives in Canada said, "Oh, have you checked out the agentic coding?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not really interested in that." And I started by putting a tiny little app together just for my use on RISC OS, and I was absolutely blown away with just how quickly it can put a single app together. And we're not talking like weeks or months here. We're talking a matter. If you really focus on what you want it to do, you could get a full application out of it in about 2 hours. It's really, really clever. So, there's loads of 26-bit apps out there that we could, probably, if we've got source code for it, we can morph over to 32-bit or even 64-bit in the future. So those that are a little bit skeptical about AI, don't write it off completely, because that may just be the key to getting all your apps working on a newer 64-bit platform in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So. I don't know what a CBZS file is. Somebody will have to...
CBZ. I didn't know that. CBZ.
Oh, okay.
Archive. The zip file containing either JPEGs or PNGs in sequence.
Okay, I will give it a go. I will ask the question. There's no reason why it couldn't.
I know MuView can handle them. The Mu PDF library must be able to handle them. Don't know about other ones. Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't do it. There's no reason why it couldn't do any file format. I mean, I've just literally shown you that I can read a sprite in Mac and Windows, which is not something that anyone would normally do, but you can now do it. And it recognizes the silly file extensions that RISC OS has, which is great. So yeah, there's loads of stuff now that we can do with it. I've been rewriting some of the modules in C, which, I've got like a custom ROM on my desktop that uses a new display manager. There's other bits and pieces on there that I won't go into too much detail, but you'll have to stay tuned. But as probably some of you know, I've been working on other projects to try and move RISC OS along. But that's what next month's for.
So one of the questions will be, of course, and how does this feed into versions of 5? So I presume that's a next month's answer, is it, Andrew?
Well, me and Raul have had quite a big fallout. Sadly, I had quite a nasty email from Andrew regarding a couple of things, which I won't go into, but it really...
Not this Andrew.
No,
he's the guy that runs the website, and let's just say some of the stuff that he said to me in email was quite hurtful. So I've kind of left them to it. I was part of a group when I was testing Landman, basically Slack, so we could all talk to each other, even Steve. And I've not had any issues with Steve personally. But he hasn't reached out to me either. And obviously I have offered offered him various bits and pieces, and he seemed quite interested in the code, and he said, yeah, it looks good. We could probably use this. But as people will well know, that it's not just one person that's taking care of rules source tree. There's various other people. And it's very difficult to get things into that source tree because it's well protected. So we kind of have to ask ourselves at the end of the day, what do we want to do? Are we going to keep relying on one entity to update our operating system, or are people just going to go off on their own and do their own thing, and then basically it'll be the first one to the finish line that comes out with a decent replacement to what we already have that is still RISC OS, but newer and can be updated a little bit more than what we've already got, because you have to remember most of it is in assembler code. So, and obviously with AI, we can speed things up quite considerably, to the point that you guys might even see a new 64-bit operating system before the end of the decade. So that's how close we can get. So yeah, we've got various different options, and I'm just not one of those people that's just going to sit around and wait for RISC OS Open to pull their finger out. And there'll be other people that will be, very protective of them as a group, but they've upset me, and so I'm staying out of it from now on. I will still do stuff for the community, and everything will be free, and that's up to people then to make that decision whether they want to use it or not. It's that is the goal.
The thing is, if you're making it open source, as you seem to be, then at the end of the day, people can use it, not use it. Rule can use it or not use it. The source code's right there for them to take advantage of if they want to.
Yeah, everything goes up on GitLab. I don't use GitHub generally. I don't particularly like the platform, but everything goes up on GitLab. And I have got my own version of the source tree for the entire operating system. I am systematically updating it, because my goal for me is to have a ROM that I can use on my system that is completely transformative. And I can just say to Rule or whoever, this is where we are. You've probably got a 5-year head start by what I've done. You either take that code and use it yourself, or someone else will, and you'll get left behind. And that's just me being honest, because people won't sit and wait. And I want to try and save the operating system that I love.
General
We'll ask you a big trick question. Sorry,
go on.
General question.
Go on, Peter.
You speak, Chris.
Okay. General question for Martin. JPEG, PDF2, is that supported in your viewer? Version
PDF2?
Yeah, version 2. No, I saw on your thing 1.5 you're using, but the PDF2 around, which has been around for a while. I think Mark Stephen was asking the question earlier on the chat.
I'm just having a look. So is it PDF2? I don't even know what that is. What is the difference between 2 and 1?
I think Mark Stevens is the expert in this one.
He is, but if he'll have to chat and let me know, because as far as I'm aware, it will do PDF to the current date, or whatever version that is. But there isn't really a PDF renderer involved on this tool. It's very difficult to explain, but everything goes through the draw module that's already on RISC OS, and then it's converted out, I guess, into like a sprite format or a draw format. So what you're seeing on your screen isn't actually a PDF. It's going in and being converted out into something else. That is another element that I need to look at, is the actual draw module itself, because I don't know when that was last updated. Like I found out with Sprite Extend, the last major update to that was 2012. So you get to look at the RISC OS source tree, and then you see there is quite a fair bit of the modules that have not been touched for a fairly long time. And then when it comes to things like web browsing, like Iris, for instance, that is going to heavily rely on newer versions of JPEG decoding and stuff like that. So it will help in the long term for people like Andrew, who's, doing stuff with Iris and, other bits and pieces. So we need to try and update as many of the modules as possible to try and get them up to a relatively sort of modern standard, because technology is moving so quickly now. We've got a lot to catch up on. So yeah, Peter, your question.
Yeah, trick one, this one.
Go on.
What makes you so fervent about RISC OS? I mean, to me, it's a filing system. It just makes so much sense. Everything else seems like a heap of crap. And Draw, of course. But those are the two main ones for me. I look at every other filing system and go, what are you doing? Why do you need to open 2 of everything? What have you not learnt drag and drop?
It's a really interesting one for me because obviously I was quite late to RISC OS. I discovered it about 3.5, 3.6 era.
Right.
And no, I did have a 3.1 system or 3.11 system, which was my first machine was an A3010, which I've still got, and I modded the crap out of it because it was my favourite machine. I think it's got one of those fancy HCS IDE stroke MIDI cards in the back of them.
Oh yeah.
And I have the Ethernet card in there as well. So my son has it. He uses it at the moment, so it's pretty good. But I was drawn to the operating system just because everything else out there was, like you say, a bit crap.
Yep.
And it's stayed consistent. Okay, visually there's been a few changes over the years, but it's a bit like the Mac operating system. Well, it was like the Mac operating system until the last 5 years, until they went completely bonkers and changed it beyond recognition.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been consistent, and that's what my vision is for 64-bit, is that I want it to look and feel the same as like we use it today, but underneath it has to be modern. It doesn't have to be visually modern because that's what we all know and love, right?
Yeah.
But it has to be more capable in the sense that it has to do all the stuff that a modern desktop would do and a little bit more to make it stand out.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's like in lots of different areas. I mean, I like doing audio-visual stuff, and that's really, well, you can sort of do MIDI and you can sample stuff-ish. But, it's not lots
Acorn
of drivers for things,
I think Acorn was one of the best platforms out there for MIDI. I think it even beat platforms like the Amiga.
Yeah.
I think people that loved MIDI knew what they were looking for when they bought an Acorn machine. So there's some of the sound that come out of the early systems was just amazing.
And you can do stuff in BASIC. I know I've got stuff from an early version of, was it Archimedes? Not even Archimedes World, something else. And it's in BASIC, read MIDI, and with velocity, and produce a mode 15 moving picture.
Yes.
So, I think that's the other thing. If you can put stuff in BASIC, or somebody can, not me, I can safely say, then why do you need to write a lot to get stuff to work? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's like some of the modules and applications that I put together used to rely really heavily on using the DDE tools or GCC. But AI has just created its own set of tools. Right. Written in Python, so it can compile everything now, from a ROM to a single module, a RISC OS application, all in Python code, without touching DDE or GCC at all. It's just,
wow, yeah.
It's got so clever, and it can compile a module in the space of about 2 minutes. Whereas if you sit on DDE on a RISC OS machine, you've got to wait 20 minutes to finish. But it's just mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing. which is making it a lot easier now to get things done. And obviously, I've just opened a shop recently. I've got like a toy shop with 3D printing and stuff like that. So that's been keeping me busy. When I haven't had staff for the last couple of weeks due to sickness, so I'm having to work every day. But the plan is to get more staff in there so that they can work, so that I can sit at home and do more RISC OS stuff. Because I thoroughly enjoy it. I've had a new sort of love for doing these sorts of projects, and obviously it gives the community something back as well, which is quite nice.
It does, yeah. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a general question. To both your emulators, the two you were showing, the networking, is that using the underlying operating system, or is it just like a normal titanium kinetic or whatever machine? Yes.
So for the TI system, imagine it sitting on your desktop as a real piece of hardware. It will when you go into the network settings, it will come up as a CPSW Ethernet card. It connects exactly the same. The only difference is that it uses parallel virtual sockets to connect out to your host machine. Now that can be done two ways. That can be done by a NAT and a relay, or you can use something called internet bridging, which is personally my favorite, because if you're not using Wi-Fi and you're using a wired machine, if you switch on internet bridging, it connects directly to your existing network without giving it a separate IP address. It can connect to all your networking hardware directly from your host machine, including all your Acorn machines that are connected. It will just work. So I've had zero issues with network bridging. The NAT stuff is a bit more complicated, because the RISC OS machine has to then create its own IP, then it has to send it out through the host, through its own network. And some of those packets get lost, which is why sometimes ShareFS doesn't run very well, or you might get an NSF share that won't connect at all. It's really temperamental, and I've literally tried for a number of weeks to try and get it sort of stable. So Andy Timmons had actually put one together, which was really good, which is called a broadcast relay. And seeing as everything was GPL2 anyway, I thought, well, I'll add it into mine because it'll just fix the problem. And I'm not saying it was him that did it, but somebody put a copyright strike on my GitHub repository today while I was at work, so I couldn't do anything about it. Not only that, they knew that I had a talk tonight, so potentially they knew it was going to derail it, and I had to pull the repository, so I couldn't do a Windows release. It didn't affect my Mac release, but it only affected the Windows side. So there is a lot of unanswered questions as to why that happened. And I'm pretty reasonable. If somebody what's got a problem with something that I've put on a repository, send me an email. Talk to me. No one needs to do what they've just done, because our community is really small. And if you start upsetting people by sending them copyright notices, then, sometimes I just sit there thinking, well, what's the point? There is enough room in this community for various different emulators. And it's up to the community then to decide which one they prefer to use. I'm not going to force anything down people's throats. If they don't want to use it, that's absolutely fine. They can use the other one. But it has to be the community's choice. And I just think all this infighting was very sort of reminiscent of the early 90s. And I don't want to get into that. I'm here for one thing and one thing only, and that's just putting software out that people might enjoy. And if they don't, then that's fair enough. I will enjoy it myself.
It was just where the networking you had to go through hoops.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, to be fair. It'll just run through your host. You haven't got to worry about any of it. Most of it's pre-set up anyway. So if you download any of the emulators, they're already sort of pre-configured in the emulator to connect to the internet. As long as your host side is connected properly, then it should just work.
And I assume it works with the ROD internet stack, or
it works. The Kinetic Box does to a certain degree, but the Titanium does work with. I prefer the ROD stack, the Titanium. I've had a couple of issues with the Kinetic Box, only because it's a RiscPC, and I don't think there is a native driver. Andrew?
Yeah, I think we use a sort of
a shim, isn't it?
A shim layer to convert the basically any other driver to the new stack. There isn't a sort of RPCMU native driver, although there's nothing to stop someone creating one.
There was a couple of features that I didn't actually tell you about on the Kinetic Box, which I completely forgot about with all the issues. But there is a separate section on Kinetic Box where you can tell it to upgrade your ROM automatically or your hard disk. There is an option in there. And if you're a new user downloading it for the first time, you will get like a setup wizard that will tell you the steps to go through it to set it up. I don't know if that's in the new version. I don't know if I've put that out yet. But I've put all the images and stuff up on the GitLab. Pac-Man runs natively on the Mac, so you don't have to even use it on the RISC OS desktop. You can download whatever software you want from Pac-Man directly, and it'll install it straight onto HostFS. So, the idea of this emulator was to try and make it as simple and easy to use as possible for the average user without it being complicated. And that's what it was for. Because I had people say to me, we like RPCMU, it's great, but it's not really been developed very much in the last 3 or 4 years. We'd really like our native Mac app. Can you do it? And I was like, fine, I'll give it a go. And Kinetic Box was the result. There's still quite a few bits and pieces to do on it, but I'm not going to be adding any of the other stuff. I'm leaving that to the other guys that want to add all the debugging. That stuff doesn't interest me. What I want is an emulator that you can just turn on and it's going to reach the desktop and do everything that you want it to do. End of it. That's it really.
Thank you.
Is it time to stop the recording, do you think?
I thought we'd already stopped.
Unless Chris, I don't think so, no. If there's anything you would rather not went into the YouTube video, then...
oh, no, I don't. No, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. No, honestly, what I've said in this talk tonight, right, I don't mind it going out there publicly because I think it needs to be called out for what it is. All this. If people have got an issue with me directly, please just send me an email, right? I know there's a few people that don't particularly like some of the stuff that I'm doing, but there are more people that do. And to me, that's all that matters.